guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Rough, Darren Jackson and Hugh McDonald here with me today. You can like, share and follow us on our Facebook page. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can actually watch us on Twitter across Periscope as well. So we're delighted that you could join us, not only here in the UK, but right across the globe. So many people participating in the programme and joining the football family. So thank you very much to each and every one of you. So lots of football to talk about. We'll discuss Scotland's qualification group. We'll hear from Steve Clarke on that. We'll also hear from the Ross County manager, Stuart Kettlewell, on this ongoing issue with Michael Gardine and the problem with Alfredo Morelos and Connor Golson. So the Ross County camp have had their say on that. And never a dull moment as ever with the burning issue of Neil Lennon. We start with that because, quite simply, Roughie, the board are sticking by him and they've reiterated it.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to diffuse the situation, get behind the manager and the players, trying to get everybody to stop talking about it. But we're not going to stop talking about it unless he starts winning games. And that's why this game coming up and the game on Saturday is so important with the Scottish Cup game coming up, because they'll obviously want to go into that game with some positive talk rather than negative. But that's up to the manager and the players. But I think the board's done the right thing, from the footballing point of view, to come out and back him, and again, it might just calm things down just a wee bit.
Yep, absolutely. Kenny Whitson says, afternoon to everyone, especially Darren in the beach hut. Yes, it's Darren on tour at the moment. He's got about 14 different classic seats where he just sits there. And basically, if you write to him, he'll solve all your problems for you. Simple as that. He does look like a reassuring father. Is that fair, Hugh McDonald? I mean, he does look relaxed about it all.
Yeah, I mean, my problem is I'm an unreassuring grandfather, Peter. I'm sitting here alone in my house, forced to turn off my Christmas tree because of my employer's demonstrations about it last week in this show. So I'm sitting here, the ghost of Christmas past. I'm sitting where Darren's sitting in his luxury in one of his several homes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about it, Hugh, the good thing is, if it wasn't for Darren, you'd be live on air with your giant boxer shorts and fronts on the back of that radiator behind you. So don't knock him right now.
There's still time, Peter. There's still time. The show's got an hour. Who knows what might make an appearance? Yep,
and Alison says Darren looks as if he's in a treehouse. I'll tell you, you're not too far away from it, to be perfectly honest with you. It looks magnificent. So here's what Celtic had to say again. They released a statement because obviously this had really gone to fever pitch on the speculation on Neil Lennon's future. In light of speculation surrounding Neil Lennon, the board wishes to make clear its continuing support for Neil and his team. The board recognises and understands the importance of winning the league, and that, as Neil himself has made clear, recent results have been disappointing. The board has considered the challenges we are faced with, not least the pressure on the management and players to deliver the 10th title in a row. We must continue to operate to our club's values and have come to the conclusion that our collective objective is best served by continuing to support Neil and his team. Neil understands the pressure and the environment, as his record demonstrates. He knows what it takes to be successful, and he has delivered success with many of the current squad who understand his approach. So, they go on to say, well, it's been suggested it's time for a change. At this stage of the season, the board believes that Neil and his team are best placed to turn their performances around. The board continues to work closely with Neil, and progress will be reviewed in the new year. The board wishes to take this opportunity to thank all Celtic fans for their support during this challenging year. It's important to make clear the board has never, as it has been inaccurately reported, referred to any Celtic fan as entitled. The board recognises the range of views expressed and the strength of those opinions. Whilst there may not always be agreement, there is a common goal, the success of Celtic Football Club, and we will continue to work together to seek to achieve that. So, what do you make of that statement, Hugh?
I don't really know what to make of of so much over the last few months, Peter. I mean, last week you asked me about, the statement that was made then, and I was, I was surprised at that. Did another statement have to come out, perhaps to address, the continuing clamour? But I don't think it moved things on too much. I think there was a couple of very interesting points in it to me. If you sort of, how we as journalists forensically look at statements, and I thought the one about Neil Lennon achieving success with the current squad, who, I can't quote it directly, but understand his workings, or that would probably be to address, are the players playing for him? I thought the other interesting thing to me was the line earlier on about not calling fans entitled. I think that is a move, an olive branch to the support, to say, we're not being contemptuous of your protests, and we understand the right that you have to make them, but let's have a rallying call. But the bottom line is, Peter, statements or no statements, the only thing that matters is what's done on the pitch. And the Celtic board and Neil Lennon are again just another result away from more uproar, basically.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there on that. But, when I look at the statement, I'll get Darren's thoughts in just a moment. When I look at that statement, I think, okay, everybody has to accept what the board are saying. They're backing their man, which, commendable. Some would say foolhardy. Some would say complacent. In my view, I think it's time for the Celtic fans to suck it up and go on this roller coaster ride, which for me at the moment, I think is downward Hugh. I think the race is over. I get the mechanics of it. I get the maths of it. I understand that there's a lot of points to play for, but I think they've backed Neil to the Old Firm game, where I think it'll be gone by then. That's my view on it, but they've backed him. So I think it's time for Celtic fans, and Darren will give us his thoughts on this. I think it's time for Celtic fans, Darren, to suck it up, stop moaning, and you just have to go with the flow now, because the board have made the call on the destiny of 10 in a row. For me, it's gone. I don't know about you.
No, Peter, it's not gone. I was thinking about when we went through lockdown and Celtic were awarded the league last year, and Rangers fans came on and were moaning the league's not over. There was 13 points in it then, and Rangers had a game in hand, and there was only 8 games to go, and they thought it was a disgrace that was given to Celtic because they could still win it. There's 13 points in it, and Celtic have 2 games in hand, and there's 24 games to go. So, but just now, can you see Celtic winning a game? No, you can't. And can you see Rangers losing the game? No, you can't. But you know how it can change. And the way listen, Peter, I said Lenny should go only because I thought some of the players, had chucked it and were not playing for him. But Dermot and Peter have obviously, the board have sat down with Neil, and they know the passion, they know the desire Neil has for Celtic Football Club, as a person, as a player, and now as a manager. And that must have come out in that meeting. And they're saying to themselves, he's still got the desire to succeed here. We need the players to actually pull their socks up and actually start performing rather than the manager.
Well, that's the point, Darren, and this is the point here. I know Neil Lennon would walk over broken glass for Celtic, but quite simply, some of the players wouldn't walk over broken glass for Celtic. Their performances, their attitude, their fitness, clearly, on the evidence of what I've witnessed, is suspect.
I know, but see when you go on about their fitness, see when you're not winning, people don't think you're fit, because when you're winning, it's irrelevant, because everything kind of goes for you, and you just go about the game and you're confident and you do things off the cuff. So people will always have a dig when you're not playing well. They don't look fit enough. Now, Peter,
this is not the fans. Darren, this is not the fans. This is Neil Lennon.
They're in training every day.
I know where you're coming from. You are talking about people saying, "Oh, they're not fit because they're losing games." This is not punters. This is not pundits. This is the manager saying that, Darren. This is not people just having a go because they're losing games. This is the manager in after-match interviews. They're not fit. He's been saying it for months. There's something wrong.
Well, there you go. That's part of it's Neil's. That's Neil's issues, because if he goes out and takes them out in the park and says, "I want you to do box to box for 30 minutes," they need to do it to get themselves fit. And I'm just talking off the cuff, and that some kind of running. But
yeah,
I can't see how players aren't fit now, Peter, because they've got sports scientists who, a lot of them want to run the show and do all their stuff, and I just don't get. And I do listen, Lenny. You've come out and said Lenny said that, so that must be fact. But I can't see why. How come players aren't fit now? That amazes me.
I'm not making it up. I mean, I'm listening to him. I'm listening to him say it.
But I'm not saying you're making it up.
No, but I'm saying to you, I'm saying that in reference to your stats that you mentioned there, and this is where Hugh and Roughie, and I'm not trying to dismantle Darren's argument, but listen, it's all about opinions. The point here is Darren has mentioned the 13-point difference. Darren has mentioned what had gone on last year before the league was called. Roughie, I have watched easily 90% of Celtic's games this season. When Rangers were trailing, nobody was calling for Steven Gerrard to be sacked. They were playing, they'd lost games, they'd drawn games, and eventually they collapsed in the run. But there wasn't a clamour for him to be sacked. This is the season of 10, and I've watched the team, and they don't look as if they could go on a run. And the difference, Roughie, as we all know, is Rangers are on a run.
Yeah, the confidence is not there. You can see it on the park. You can see it in the players who were lighting up Celtic. The Edwards, and I throw McGregor and Christie into that a wee bit now, because they two, for me, were the best players this season. But since they've come back to Scotland after playing these 3 games, they look as if they've lost a wee bit of their fizz. But it's the defence for me. It's the goalkeeper and defence. And you're right in what you're saying. I think the only thing that Steven Gerrard was getting thrown against him is you need to win a trophy. You need to win a trophy soon. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but the way things are going now, I don't think that'll be too far away. But if you looked at it last year, you would have thought, well, I don't think they are going to win a trophy, but it just shows you how things have changed. To get back to that fitness thing, and I get you picking up that they should be fit, but I think he was talking about, Peter, the players that have been injured that are coming back, like Lee Griffiths. Lee Griffiths wasn't getting played because he was injured and he wasn't fit. Some of them would get away with it. I mean, if he's directing it at players who have been training for the start, who aren't fit, then that's got to be seriously looked at.
Hugh, this is not an isolated, they're not fit from the weekend. This is a number of occasions he's mentioned it, Hugh.
Yeah, I think some of it, though, as well, Peter, is he has mentioned it a lot, and I wonder if he could be clearer in what he's saying for the rest of us. Because if he's saying that they're not fit, as in they're not training hard enough, that is an indictment on him and his coaching staff, as Darren points out. That's an indictment on him not getting. I think a lot of it, and I could be wrong here, I think a lot of it's to do with, yes, injury, but also things like COVID, players being issued with COVID, saying, that they're not fit. Because if he's just coming out and saying, I have a squad that's not fit because they're not working hard enough, that's a huge indictment, not just on the players, but on the culture at the training ground. And I'm not sure, I don't know, Peter, but I'm not sure that's what he's saying.
Peter, the thing about it is, if Xander Clark hadn't made these 2 unbelievable saves, he wouldn't have mentioned it. It wouldn't have even been in his press conference if they'd won 2-1.
Well, Roughie, with all due respect, I can't deal in ifs, buts, and maybes and what might have been. I'm dealing with on a weekly basis here a manager who says something, and we're looking at it. And we're saying, okay, let's analyse what he's saying. And the Griffiths issue. I mean, I don't want to go through the whole team. It's gone. Celtic are backing their manager. Celtic fans are on here. Rangers fans are absolutely loving it because, quite simply, it's almost a handing over of the Banter's Year trophy, as everybody's been talking about. Because, quite simply, and rightly so, the Rangers fans have had to suck it up for 9 years, and this might be their moment. And they're looking at it, they're reveling in it, they're looking at the way their team's playing with great confidence. And the manager of the month, the player of the month, has scored 60 goals. I mean, he's a right back. I mean, that's how good they're playing. Everything is going right for them. I mean, if I was Steven Gerrard, as I said before, Hugh, I'd enter the Eurovision Song Contest because I think they might win that as well. I mean, it's all going that well, and even I'm wearing a red, white, and blue top today. Hugh. What's happening to me? If it wasn't a PLZ Maestro top, I wouldn't be wearing it.
But the whole dynamic in football, and it just doesn't apply in Glasgow. It applies all over the world when there's two teams going for a championship, whether it's Juventus or AC Milan in Italy or Lille and PSG in France or wherever you want to go. Part of the whole dynamic is that one team is doing bad when one team is doing very well. That's what makes the banter. That's what makes football. Football fans don't only love to revel in their own team's greatness, but in the downfall of their rivals, and I'm fine with that. That's perfectly understandable. I'm all on board with that. And the great thing about it has been the dramatic way it's changed, Peter. Because we were talking about ifs and buts and maybes, but if you looked at it in March, Steven Gerrard reflecting on his future, he was saying after a game at Tynecastle at the Scottish Cup, now on the cusp of maybe a historic season for his team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter,
the reason why
we just have to quote Fergie, the noisy neighbours, Hugh.
That's it. Well, but that's what it's all about.
Yeah. The other thing that not many people will pick up on, but quite a lot will, because they watch this show on a regular basis. Because Darren and I have been friends for 30 years or so, the two of us started laughing there at the same time because we knew exactly what we were laughing at. And a lot of people will pick up on it who watch the programme, and it's basically Roughie thinking to himself, I'm going to button my top button to make me look like an extra from an Oasis video to try and still stay trendy with the 90s guys. So, Roughie... You've been caught. I saw the smirk on Jacko's face and I thought he's laughing the same way. Trying to get yourself your wee trendy polo shirt there, but you were caught out. Are you okay, Roughie?
Yeah, I was quite happy with my Christmas jumper on, but you told me to take it off.
No, it's too early. I mean, on God Almighty, Hugh's giving me pelters. Christmas trees were in the 8th of December. Anyway, apart from anything else, I think a lot of people, and thanks to everybody for their messages, talking about the Rangers situation, the way they are, and Celtic. And I think Hugh summed it up perfectly. Darren knows it better than most. He's played in that year of all years when Rangers were going for 10 in a row. It's all about one team doing well and the other team suffers. Let's have a look at the fixtures, because if Celtic are standing by their man and Rangers have got their fixtures coming up, where can you see the wins coming along the way? Celtic, Lille, Kilmarnock, Hearts, Ross County and Hamilton, and then Dundee United. And then Rangers have got Lech Poznan, Dundee United, St Mirren in the League Cup, Motherwell, St Johnstone, Hibs and St Mirren. And if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I'm looking at Lech Poznan is irrelevant to them now. They're qualified. Celtic need Lille like a hole in the head. And then I'm looking at the other ones there, Hugh, and I'm saying to myself, nope. Before last season, I would have looked at those games and thought maybe Celtic, yep, there's all wins. This season, I'm sorry, I could not tell you where a win's coming from for the Celtic side.
Well, you really can't. It's not a journalistic hyperbole, or it's not any kind of doom mongering. We just have to look at the record. Two wins out of whatever, 11, 12. Where are we at now? Games that would one day be looked at as gimmies. Ross County at home, everybody can shout and protest about this has not been respectful. But surely at one time anybody in a Celtic dressing room at Celtic Park walking out to face Ross County, a team that had just been thumped by 10 men Kilmarnock, you're looking at that as the nearest to a gimme you're going to get. And you lose that, Peter, St Johnstone's different. Yeah, I mean, in a perfect season, everything's going well. A really decent St Johnstone team coming down, the goalkeeper making a couple of saves, scoring on the break. It's a blow, but not a. That wouldn't have been a devastating one. But in the context of what's happening, no game is a conscious. I mean, we went through the other week there saying that Europe had become an irrelevance to Celtic, that it didn't matter. It matters when you can beat 4-1 away from home in Prague. That's when it matters. It then becomes a further addition to the woes. So Lille should not matter and will not matter, of course, in the destination of anything in Celtic this year. I mean, they're out of Europe, etc. But it has the potential to be painful, Peter. That's the point now. Whereas Poznan hasn't the potential to be. I mean, even if, and I don't think they will do, but if Rangers got absolutely gubbed against Poznan, and again, I don't think they will do, it wouldn't really matter. They could brush that off and say, well, just a blip, back to the league, let's settle down for the weekend. That's the situation as regards pressure that both teams are under.
Yeah, Bruce Robertson makes a good point here on Facebook. He says, Poznan is important. It's worth $1.5 million to Rangers. Yes, I take that point, Bruce. I was merely mentioning the fact that they're through. And, of course, you will look at it and say to yourself, well, there is the importance of Rangers want to be finishing in top position, and then they might get what is a lesser side in the last 32 of the Europa League. There is that desire. I accept that point, Bruce, but I think all in all, when they look at it, Rangers, Steven Gerrard is relaxed to the situation and say, like, go out there and enjoy yourself. You've done all the hard work. You've got us through. Go out there and enjoy it and, give us the cherry on the cake, as they say. And they could finish top and then maybe get a really good tie. So with that in mind, that's Celtic and Rangers for you. Thanks to so many people for all the messages. There was a small matter of the World Cup draw. Let's get your thoughts on it. Darren, I look at that World Cup draw and I'm saying to myself, well, I think Denmark, Austria, Scotland, Israel, Faroe Islands and Moldova, I'm happy with it. Are you?
I think, listen, Peter, it's a good draw. It's another one. We always need to turn up to perform, Peter, to win games. And that's what's happened in the Israel game. Yes, it went to penalties, and that's what happened in the Serbia game. But we actually played very well. The games after that, we didn't play as well. So you're just hoping the boys turn up. Denmark and Austria will be hard games. And as we found out, I think it's the 6th time in 3 years Stevie Clark's had Israel. So we know everything about them. But if the Scotland team that turned up against Serbia, I think they could play against anyone, Peter, and give themselves a chance. If we got a full squad again, we need a full squad, which we had then. And we've got players that can obviously hurt people and players that are used to, we didn't win the games. I know it went to penalties, but are confident going into games like that now, rather than thinking, we're no qualifying, we're no winning. They've qualified now. They know what it takes now.
Here's our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi looking at the draw.
Scotland will face Denmark, Austria, Israel, the Faroe Islands and Moldova in their bid to reach the 2022 World Cup after yesterday's draw. So let's take a closer look at Group F. The initial reaction has been positive, and for a change, the national team have not been put in with any world-class teams or standout sticky ties. Manager Steve Clarke was satisfied, but also wary of all opponents.
Without being disrespectful to the two minnows in the group, we have to be happy with the draw, but very, very wary that it can be a dangerous draw as well.
Denmark are the top seed in the group and are ranked 12th in the world, so are duly favourites. But they were seen as the least daunting Pot 1 side. The likes of Christian Eriksen, Kasper Schmeichel and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg will look to change that when they come to Hampden. Austria could be seen as Scotland's main rival for second place and have top players in David Alaba and Marcel Sabitzer. They've won 5 of their last 6 and they keep it tight at the back, but they haven't qualified for a World Cup since the Scots last did back in 1998. Israel are the 4th seed and a team Clark knows all about. They've met 5 times in the last 2.5 years, with 2 wins apiece if you include the playoff semi-final shootout in October. A win in Israel will likely be essential for qualification, but that's been a problem in the past and something Clark must change.
Yeah, I think when you've got so many teams coming out the pots, you're hoping that something different will come out. But listen, both teams know each other inside out. We've played each other a lot, so we'll look forward to playing the Israelis again.
Faroes and Moldova conclude the selection. 2 minnows who Scotland have met in the not-so-distant past, and 12 points from the 4 matches is a must. As only 13 teams from Europe qualify, the group winners will automatically reach Qatar, whilst the runners-up will enter a playoff semi-final, similar to the way Scotland made it to Euro 2020. So is Clark aiming to win the group then?
You never really know until the group starts. I think if you go into any campaign, you want to finish as high as you possibly can, and that's what we'll aim to do.
The fixtures themselves will be released later today, so Clark and his team can start planning their attempts to reach the World Cup, whilst also preparing for the small matter of next summer's European Championships.
So there you have it. Roughie, who would you like to see, or who do you think can push themselves into the manager's thoughts ahead of these games?
Well, we're looking at Billy Gilmour getting a shot tonight in a European game. We would hope that would be the start of his maturing into a permanent first-team player by the time all these games come around. I think his squad is pretty solid, that there are obviously Ryan Fraser to come back in. I don't think there's many who'll push themselves in by March. I think he's pretty loyal to the guys who have done it for him. And it's going to be a tough one. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. But to get back to the group thing, I think we are pleased because we've now got a team coming out of pot 1 in our section that we know we can't beat. But let's not take that away from Denmark. England can't beat Denmark. They beat England 1-0, so they must be not a bad side. It's the Israel one I'm worried about. We've played them 3 teams and we haven't beaten them once. And that's the team that's come out in the pot underneath us. So I agree with Stevie. I think teams will take points off everybody. I think it's one of these sections that there's no given that you're going to win a game or lose a game. So I think Gabriel said there the fixtures are coming out. I think the fixtures are important. I think the first 3 games we want 2 at home, 1 away, and we want to rack up some points because we know what happens when we leave it too late.
Yeah, you mentioned Billy Gilmour there. He's raring to go and hoping he can force his way into Steve Clarke's plans.
I'm a Chelsea player. I need to work hard here, and hopefully the opportunity does come. It'll be an amazing opportunity to go and play, but I need to play here, work hard and play well. We were with the Scotland 21s team back at the hotel, so all the coaching staff and the players were in the dining room watching it on the big TV, and when they scored to equalise, it was hands and heads moments, and then after that we were buzzing, all jumping around celebrating, so it was a good feeling.
Yeah, good for Billy Gilmour to get the run out against Krasnodar. Chelsea flying high at the moment. I always had that fear, Darren, that once the transfer embargo actually was lifted in Chelsea, I always had that fear that Billy Gilmour would suddenly not be the main star getting into the side. I know he's picked up an injury. I know it was a bad one, and he's coming back. And they want to give him, time elsewhere. But he burst onto the scene. I was wondering, once they were able to buy big players, Havertz in there in the midfield area, I wondered if he was going to get a start.
I was always confident, Peter, because he's a huge talent. And obviously Frank Lampard knows that. And he sees that every single day. He'll see his desire. I've spoken about it before, and it's probably maybe people are bored of it, but he's just desire every single day. And Frank Lampard said in it, he was asked, what does Billy do best? And he does the basics. He does the basics very well, and he does in training and warm-ups, and everything he does is just to the maximum of his ability, and it's brilliant to see. And I think I'm with Roughie. I think by the time that comes along, if Billy's going out on loan, I think he was mentioned with Napoli, Peter, going on loan to Napoli. So there's going to be, if he is to go out on loan, there's going to be a list the length of your arm for Billy Gilmour, and I think it can only benefit him. I think if Frank Lampard says, I want you to stay, you're going to be in amongst it, I think he'll say yes. But I think Billy will want to go and play and go and learn at a good level, that they'll put him to a good level. But just you were talking about players, Peter. I think I saw a thing that, you know, the boy Che Adams at Southampton.
Yep.
I think he can qualify for us.
Yep.
Yeah, well, let's get down there. Let's get down there, Hugh. Sign him up.
Yep.
And the boy Harvey Barnes. He I know he's played for England once in a friendly, but he can qualify for us too.
Well, it's funny that Darren should be referenced that, because we don't, you know, the funny thing is, what we really, if I had to pick where we wanted to strengthen, I would say we wanted to strengthen in centre back and up front. Now, I know we'll take Billy Gilmour all day long, because what a talent that kid's going to, is already, and what he's going to be. But the Che Adams one's a really interesting thing, Peter, because I think we've got to add to our options at the top end of the part. Lyndon Dykes has been an absolute star for us, but what we've got to do is get players around them. If you're looking for guys to come through, I've still got this wee notion for, and I know he's still making his way in many ways in his game. I'm keeping an eye on Kevin Nisbet, but only for the reason that every time I've seen him, he's managed to score a goal from a good angle. He's looked busy. He's looked, he's looked the kind of guy that might want to, that might be the kind of guy that forces his way in. But all that with the caveat that there's not that many places up for grabs now, Peter, in that team. There's not. If you look at even in centre back now, is very strong. I think Ryan Porteous is going to find it really hard now to get in. At one point, he'd have been looked at as a backup centre back, but the centre backs are so strong now with the likes of Andy Considine. It's going to be hard to discard him, for example. So I don't think there's that many places up for grabs.
Well, if there's a real quality, Peter Waters has just said there on Facebook that Che is holding out for England. You never know. You might be able to. You might just be able to influence someone, Roughie, if you say, "Well, listen, look at England. Their squad's picked. You could go to a major championships with Scotland."
Yeah, the players have got to suss that up. It's not the first time that there's been a really good player has had a choice of countries to go to. Sometimes they make a good choice, sometimes they don't. But that's the kind of dialogue that you need. I think we lost McCarthy. Was it McCarthy we lost at Hamilton when somebody never went and spoke to him, and he went over to Ireland. So it's all about having a chat with the boy or through whatever media. And if he is interested in that kind of things put to him, he's got to make up the decision.
Yeah, on that point you were making about Billy Gilmour, here's what Frank Lampard had to say on a possible loan.
I think Billy will start tomorrow, and with Billy, he I don't want to have that thought or conversation until it will be any point where it would take place. Firstly, when a window opens, and it's not open now. I value him a lot in this squad. You say we have a lot of options in midfield that can quickly change, as we've seen with the winger situation at the club. Hakim gets injured at the weekend, Callum gets injured yesterday, and the numbers are not so great, so I'll make those decisions going forward.
Yeah, he'd be a right good loan signing if he goes to Napoli. Just needs to steer clear of cocaine and the mafia, and I think he'll be fine. Just two minor things.
Two minor things. Don't choose that number 10 shirt either. Take another shirt as well. Make life easier for yourself as well, going out there. But what a club to go to. I think one of the great things is a side story, and we can maybe develop it in another programme over the next few months. Is there many Scottish kids now, Peter, are going abroad and trying to make a career for themselves. We've got Aaron Hickey already in Serie A. Liam Henderson as well is making a name for himself over there. Ryan Gold, who we talked about pre-show, really doing well in Portugal at the moment. Some kids leaving academies at Celtic and other places to go over to Germany. So there's a real cadre of not only good players but ambitious players that are wanting to put their careers to the test in foreign climes. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, well done to Stephen McManus.
What do you think if Stephen Gerrard phoned up his pal and said, "I hear you're putting him out on loan. What about us?
Yeah. Oh, he'd say, that's fine. Pay the 28 grand a week. You're on. He's there. I say he's on Twitter. He may be on something less. Who knows? Anyway, he's well worth his money. Stephen McNamara says, just tell Hugh that the number 10 shirt at Napoli has been retired, which I think is only right and proper, to be perfectly honest with you, because the wee man was a genius. Okay, Ross County, we move on to that because it's particularly an unsavoury thing here. Michael Gardine in the firing line. Whatever he said, it's certainly not got out to anyone, if indeed he said something that he shouldn't have said to either Connor Golson or Alfredo Morelos. Now, with all due respect on this, wild speculation, and as ever with social media, it can, grow arms and legs. The one thing about this is once the facts come out, I think then we can determine, whether there's a hefty punishment to be handed out and whether there's a stain on Michael Gardine's character. But as ever with these things, what happens is there's a torrent of abuse, speculation, assumption, and we have to deal with the facts on this. Did he say something that was untoward? Has he made a racist or a homophobic remark? That's the early gossip on this one. Michael Gardine himself has denied any such statement. And here, again, is what Stephen Ferguson had to say, first of all, about the investigation that's going to take place.
We're conducting our own investigation in regarding to get to the bottom of what was allegedly said or what was allegedly done. So if you guys could just respect us in the fact that we give us a wee bit of time to make sure that we can get to the bottom of it and we're able to deal with it in the correct manner. At the moment, there's nothing clear, and we really don't want to say anything that one jeopardises anybody or two is the wrong thing. So again, until we get any concrete evidence, then we can't really make any sort of judgment on that. So, like I just said, we'll be on touch to you guys as soon as we have anything concrete or anything factual or anything that we feel it's appropriate to say.
Well, concrete, Hugh, is Michael, did you say something? And Michael tells him.
Yep. You've got to, there's all presumption and assumption at the moment, Peter, but if you look at what Gardine said in social media, and his agent has come out as well, they're denying it. So it's how to move forward with it. Can the claims be substantiated by others, or can his claims be put in doubt by the testimony of others? That's what's got to be decided. That's what Ross County will be looking at, all available evidence going forward. And it's hard to say anything more than that. It's either been done and can be proved to have been done, and therefore he'll face really strong sanctions, or he's not done it, or it cannot be proved that he's done it, and nothing can be done. It's as straightforward as that.
So, sometimes, if Rangers players come forward and say this was said and he said, as you say, Hugh, it becomes one word against the other. But sometimes, especially with games like this, a camera that's in the ground or a microphone might be able to pick something up and clarify the situation. Maybe not. We'll find out. Stuart Kettlewell, the Ross County boss, certainly doesn't want it to derail what he's doing at the moment.
There's no sideshow here as far as I'm concerned. I think obviously the message simply from us is that I'm here to do a job as a football manager and prepare a team to play against Aberdeen. We dissect what happened against Rangers. We pick up the pieces what happened against Rangers. And by that I mean performance, goals conceded, chances created. We look at all those things. We now look at who's fit leading into the Aberdeen game, because we all know that we've had a few issues in that sense as well. And simply we got on the pitch and go and try and prepare for the game. That's what it needs to be.
Yep, okay, we'll find out in due course whether anything was said and whether there's any penalty on the way. Reese has made a very good point. Reese McClimate says, Peter, can you ask Hugh if his back is okay sitting on the arm of that couch? Because that's what we're worried about. But what Roughie and Darren are settled in their mind, Hugh, is you have obviously some kind of Robocop thing in the back behind you that's just keeping you upright.
This is in fact the actual truth. I'm now because of this old age. Peter does not come alone because so I've got to be braced to face the camera now. That's it. It's the trials. It's the trials of being a pensioner. I can't just luxuriate like these athletes in big soft chairs anymore. I've got to keep myself straight. Going back to the Gardyne one. One of the interesting things about the Gardyne one is there's precedent being set, Peter, by the SFA and by the compliance officer some time ago with the Tonev and complaint levelled up by Aberdeen.
Yes.
When it couldn't be proved that Tonev said anything because there was only one accuser and none of the referees or the mics or the cameras picked anything up. But the SFA decided on the balance of probability that it happened. So that there's an interesting precedent being saying there that they backed Shea Logan's assertion that he had been racially abused, even though Shea was the only person that heard it. So there is a precedent for moving beyond what would normally be Scots law, where we look for corroboration and things. So there is a precedent here.
Yeah, the only thing that we have mentioned with regards to possibly a racist or a homophobic remark was basically because Michael Gardyne came out and denied any such racist or homophobic line. That's why. So there's no throwing in any speculation on our part. This is us just dealing with what we know at the moment on. I hope not. I hope nothing untoward has been said, because that's the last thing we need. We need to continually, I think, back up the take the knee situation that's going on at the moment. A lot of people are looking at it and thinking it's just symbolism, posturing. It doesn't do anything, but there is a positive element to it. I just wish that off the back of it, there is more positivity in how people lead their lives. Certainly, I don't think when you look at what's happened over the last few days, I don't think, Roughie, that Millwall fans have covered themselves in glory.
No, I think quite rightly everybody's come out and criticised what happened down there to a man, which is encouraging. I think we all know that something has to be done. And I think it's getting through. I saw something on one of the sports channels that even younger people are now questioning why they're doing that. And that's what we want. We want the younger generation to know why the players are doing that. So that it's actually bringing it out a lot more, and that has to be encouraged.
Yeah. Here's one. A director of football, only at 34. Cammy Bell certainly surprised us all, Darren. He's off to Annan after retiring. Couldn't quite get into that Queen's Park side and decided enough was enough.
Yeah, it shows you how strong Queen's Park are this year, Peter. They're obviously flying. And he's seen a wee niche there and he's thought to himself, yeah, why not give this a go? I'm quite a confidence person. I'm a football guy. I know what's going on. And then if it helps Annan, fair play to him, and he's retiring but still in the game, which is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to him. Champions League. I wonder, Roughie, where your eyes will be watching tonight. What you'll be watching. Here's the offer of Chelsea against Krasnodar, Rennes, Seville, Lazio, Bruges, Zenit, Borussia Dortmund. That'll be Hugh's choice. Barcelona, Juventus is almost certainly my choice. Dynamo Kiev against Ferencváros, PSG against Istanbul, Leipzig against Manchester United. That's really a lot of tasty ties, but nevertheless, everybody's been talking about it, and I think it's only right and proper to mention it. Darren, we are probably in the last years, maybe 2-3, of Ronaldo and Messi. It's been an absolute joy. The stats are frightening. It's been a joy to watch both of them, and they've still got, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years in them, but it's been great.
It's been special, Peter. We've been very, very lucky to watch. Obviously, I saw Maradona. I didn't see as much of Pele, but to see two guys perform at a level every single game it has been a pleasure, and they're still going. their desire to keep going. Ronaldo, they're talking about him going back to Man United or PSG, and they're talking about Messi could be going to PSG, but their desire to play every game. They don't want like I maybe need rested. I've maybe had too many. They want to play every single game because I think it is a competition between them. I think they do look like Messi will look at Ronaldo. He scored again. They want to be up there. They're competing against each other. They're actually driving each other on, and it's just brilliant to watch. And I'm just over the moon that Blackpool aren't playing tonight, that I can watch the Barcelona event. And by the way, we won last week. We beat Portsmouth 1-0, and we beat Fleetwood on Saturday in the derby 1-0. So I was delighted with that. But so I'll be able to watch Barca Juventus tonight.
Can you see the passion there, Roughie, when he was talking about it? We won. Blackpool won. Isn't that magnificent? Let's go on the big one, and then go on the roller coaster. It's sensational.
I just wondered.
The Pepsi Max. See, once it opens up, we'll be on the Pepsi Max field.
Exactly.
I'm just wondering what relative's mansion he'll be staying in down there.
Well, to be fair, I think the last time I was in Blackpool was with my mates when I was 16, and we got a flat for a tenner. Hugh, I mean that's the last time. I mean,
you still got that flat as well, Peter.
No, I meant it was a tenner a night to stay in it, so you can actually work out the level we were operating at. We were skint, but we just got there.
Well, the last time I was in it was down to cover the Open, which was at Royal Lytham, St Anne's, and I've never had such a culture shock as driving out that imaginary border where you could actually feel coming out from really Royal Lytham into our hotel in Blackpool, where we thought we'd all donned space boots because the carpet was like walking through a field of custard that was that sticky. So that was the high jinks, the high life of a journalist back in the day. But on the Champions League tonight, Peter, I will watch Zenit and obviously my team Dortmund, but I'll be keeping a really close eye on Leipzig, Manchester United. Because journalistically, I mean, you can never take the reporter out yourself. That's what a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Peter Met, called Manchester United is a dripping roast of a story.
Yes,
because that could end quite messily for Ollie tonight, particularly given Pogba's agent's comments this week.
Well, I mean, I just find it. I mean, listen, there are lots of very good agents out there, but Pogba's agent just fills me with just dismay, to be perfectly honest with you. And of course, Roughie, Pogba is in my all-time top least favourite players. There's a title for you. My all-time top least favourite players. He's in there with Neymar.
He just tucked in behind Neymar.
He is. I mean, Pogba, I've got no time for him. The most overrated waste that you could ever see. He scored a goal at the weekend, which was absolutely sublime. And he's a wonderful talent. But it just, for me, he doesn't give his all for his manager. And it's the sideshow with his agent would annoy. If I was a Manchester United fan, I'd be beating my head off the wall, having to put up with the nonsense. But I don't know about you, Hugh, but in Fergie's book, I think he summed them up perfectly.
Yep, absolutely. And there's a reason why Pogba left Manchester United. And I remember all the criticism when Pogba went to Juventus. Did Fergie let one go? He's slipped away. He's made a mess of this. And you can see now why the decision was made to let Pogba go. But it's a huge story tonight for Manchester United because there's a question mark over qualification for the shootout rounds or the knockout rounds, and that's not good news for Manchester United. And on the least favourite players, we'll have to do a podcast or something during the Christmas least favourite players. We'll all agreed Roughie at number one in goal. That's the easy one, right?
Yeah, that's the easy one.
But just moving forward through the team.
I've got three in there. I want you to think about this because we'll do a program about it, Roughie. Get Hugh involved, get Dan involved. we'll do your top 10 least favourite players. We'll make it a personal one. But I've got 3 in there already. I've got Neymar, Roughie. I've also got Pogba. And I've got another one which, the minute I say it, only one of you might actually know or remember him. And his name is Ruben Ayala.
Yes.
So,
Argentina, yeah.
So there's a name, Hugh.
Absolutely.
There is a guy who left Jimmy Johnston black and blue. He had the look of the most innocent guy ever. But he absolutely, he was just a nightmare. Anyway, that's the Tuesday night fixtures. Here's the Wednesday night fixtures in the Champions League. If you love your football, Bayern Munich, Lokomotiv, Salzburg, Atletico, Inter against Shakhtar Donetsk, Real Madrid, Mönchengladbach, Man City, Marseille, Olympiacos against Porto, Ajax, Atalanta, and Michelin against Liverpool, which, of course, Liverpool's my team, so I'll be watching there. Roughie, what would be your choice there?
Not exciting as the first batch you threw up there, but I haven't decided which one, but I'll probably pick one because, as you know, the bake-off's finished now, so I've got a free night, and I just
like Roughie and the Scottish boy won.
Yeah, I've just got his congratulations to the boy for Edinburgh. I thought he did particularly well, particularly with his Viennese twirl. It was magnificent.
Yeah, absolutely. Times less where you're lucky it's lockdown, because I would be beating you over the head with a baseball bat, I have to tell you. Listen, Paul Marco Clemente has actually just been right on the mark, because Paul Marco Clemente clearly watches this programme and is well aware that I have 4 people in my top 10 least favourite players, because Paul Marco Clemente has just reminded me of Karl Heinz Rummenigge. Rummenigge's in there. And the reason he's in there, and for Rangers and Celtic fans and every other fan in Scottish football, the reason he's in there is because he's part of the greedy problem of the super clubs who just want to play each other almost 20 times in the same season, just in that wee league of 16, and everybody else can get stuffed. And he's one of the problems that you need to keep your eye on. So Rummenigge, thanks, Paul. He's in there. Listen, I'm going to give a mention here to Andy Smith, who actually has a great little. He's got a brilliant Twitter. It's called Scott's Footy Cards, Roughie.
Yeah.
And on Andy Smith's Scott's Footy Cards, I mean, he comes out with absolute belters that we used to collect from the chewing gum cards, and he would have Darren in his Hibs top, the wee cards, Magic Roughie in his pop, in the Argentina top. But he runs a great site, and he's mentioned here, if I could give a mention to Shoot the Breeze podcast. So if you get a chance, have a listen to it, Shoot the Breeze podcast, because basically what they do is they're doing a feature at the moment, World Cup of Scottish football lookalikes. So they pick a famous person and then say whether they look like them. And I think one of them is Willie Donachie and the guy from Spinal Tap, Roughie. And if you see the two of them together, it's very, very close. I'm just wondering, Roughie, who would be your World Cup lookalike? I'm thinking, is there anyone out there that might
off the top of my head? No, I can't think any good-looking guy off the top of my head.
Well, I can think of one, Roughie. I think the boy Owen Wilson would probably.
I don't know him.
Maybe. Something.
I remember being over in France and getting mistaken for Gerard Depardieu.
Yes, I get that with the big schnozzle. Yep, I get that, Roughie. Anyway, the reason why I mention it is because Andy is actually raising funds for West Dunbartonshire Community Food Share, and well done to Andy, because that is a worthwhile cause. I know lots of people and lots of footballers who do it without any publicity. Go and help out and pack the boxes for people who are less well off. So well done to Andy Smith. If you get a chance, go on there to the Shoot the Breeze podcast and see what they're all chatting about. The World Cup lookalikes is absolutely magnificent. Darren, I'm just trying to think who would be your lookalike at the moment with those glasses on. Maybe Rick Moranis.
A couple of people have said George Clooney.
Who did he play for?
Yeah, is that George Looney? Yeah, Dan. Yeah, a couple of
George
people,
Looney.
your sister.
George Looney, I think.
I'm just thinking. As ever, just before we go, guys, news just in. We always like either a statement or news just in, Hugh. Rangers have been fined €10,000 after the match against Benfica kicked off late. But the manager, Steven Gerrard, is in the clear. The Europa League group game at Ibrox failed to get underway as scheduled, bringing a charge from the governing body. Gerrard was also in the dock for the delay, but UEFA confirmed he'll not face any punishment. So €10,000, Hugh, it's about $9,000.
And they'll take that and they'll move on, Peter. I'll not change much in the dynamic of the season. That obviously a protocol was breached. They're very, very strong, UEFA. They send you a book before the season, your participation starts, where branding has to be, what you have to do, and there's a whole protocol, and if you breach any one of those protocols, you're liable to a fine, and that's what's happened.
Yeah, I don't know if Peter will remember that to back up that thing that Hugh said when we were in Barcelona, and we thought we could just move into a room and use that room to record in. Do you remember that night?
No.
When the boy said, you're not going anywhere. This is UEFA's game. You have to find somewhere else. And we frantically went across the road to the restaurant.
Right, I'm not sure.
With Paul Hughes.
Remember? Yes, I remember now, Roughie. But
we were in the stadium.
Roughie, for the last 2 days, you've come out with things out of left field that are just you're throwing me at times, Roughie, with these stories that just come out. Yesterday it was Dave King out of left field. Today it's Barcelona.
Oh, it was just when Hugh said UEFA take control of everything. They certainly took control of us when we thought we were just going to wander in and plug in whatever we thought we'd plugged in.
Well, that was the night before. We were allowed to plug in on the match day, but you're absolutely right. Although, to be perfectly honest with you, if you ever get a chance, Hugh, to go to Barcelona in the new camp for a game, make sure you take Steve Archibald with you, because no matter where we went, Archibald was a god. He was a god. I mean, they love him.
Yep.
And I had a look at his stats for Barcelona. If you have a look at Steve Archibald's stats, he was top drawer as a player. Absolutely magnificent, Roughie.
The statement that night, Hugh, that I will never forget is 30 minutes before we went air. Peter said, "Where am I going to get a 30-foot extension?"
There you go.
Yeah, trying to plug us in. But to be fair, as I say to everyone who's watching this show, you had to be there. Anyway, it's a story for another day. I don't know where Roughie's going at this, but by the way, that's what happens when you watch Bake Off. Anyway, great to have Darren with us. Absolutely fantastic. And yet another Stars on Sunday chair that he's sitting on there. I'm sorry that he didn't get a chance to sing an old Roger Whittaker song, Durham Town. Maybe he'll sing it later on for us. There could be an old Blackpool favourite from Arthur Askey or something like that. You never know. For some Darren, Hugh, Roughie, and myself, all I'm going to say to you is, the Maestro shirts are out now, red and white, green and white, blue and white, and black and white. All the troops will have one. You can go on our website and have a look and see which one you fancy. It could be a Christmas present, could be something for the new year, but the Maestro tops are out, and if you fancy yourself as a bit of Maestro, you can train in them or wear them casually. I wonder what colour these three beside me are going to pick. Only time will tell. Anyway, apart from anything else, thanks to the guys, thanks to you for watching us, and join us tomorrow if you can. I'll leave you with maybe a late Christmas present.
It's the perfect Christmas gift for your dad, mum, your brother, your sister, your best friend. The Legends limited edition series by sports artist Jim Scullion is available to order now. From t-shirt to canvas to prints, select your favourite legend of football. From Larson to Laudrup, Pele to Maradona, Messi or Ronaldo. Order your perfect stocking filler now by clicking on the link to own your very own limited edition legend.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed.